Remember that one time you made me give you a back scratch if I gave you a belly rub?
Yeah, I got a great deal out of that, a back scratch and a belly rub.
Yeah, exactly. Because
you just really wanted to rub my belly.
I was willing to rub your belly, and you're like, as long as you scratch my back, and I was like, all right.
You did the same thing. You did the same thing once too. So it's a talent. It was good for you. It was good for me.
Yeah, it's like when you're patting yourself on the belly and
patting your head and like rubbing your stomach.
Yeah, I could scratch your back and rub your belly at the same time. It's kind of, I'm the only one.
I used to practice that a lot. I don't know.
Did it get you far?
It's honed my hand-eye coordination.
You know what? It got you good with playing with your poker chips at the casino.
That's true. I'm a really good poker chip player.
Just with the chips, though. They're bad with the cards.
Oh, horrible with the cards. I'm really good with the chips.
Yeah, if I sat next to you at a casino and saw you playing with the chips, I would go to a different table. I'd be like, that guy's total shark. Total shark.
You would think I'd be good, but the funny thing is that I'm quite bad. Welcome back to Monday Night Conversations. I am one of your hosts. My name is Scott Macklin. On the other side of this Google Meet screen is our other host. His name is Matthew John Thompson.
Hi, guys. Welcome in. Hope you enjoy a little sports, pop culture, and a little emotional conversation.
Well, heavy on the pop culture today because the podcast over the last couple of weeks has gone very football focused with good reason. The NFL season just started up. We are in week 2, and I think we're going to get to some of that later in the podcast. But we're starting the podcast, Matthew, with a look at the Sopranos documentary that is on HBO currently. Both of us have watched it. Both of us loved the Sopranos. Mm-hmm. What an interesting, entertaining 2 hours plus of television. It was 2 parts, a little more than 2 hours, but it was awesome.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, just to be back in that little world that, really spanned from 1999 really through 2012, 2013, I believe it ended, something like that, because they were doing, every 18-month seasons. Yeah. So it was just, you were in that world, you were thinking about the show, and then I've never really heard or read a lot about David Chase, to be honest with you. I didn't realize he was kind of like a hacky TV writer from the 80s. And he fell in with the right friends, it seemed like, and he got carte blanche to do whatever he wanted with that show.
Well, it's funny you brought that up. I had no idea what he looked like. I pictured some really sophisticated, white-haired, slick back guy, and he was sort of like an Italian, nebbish type of guy from New Jersey.
Yeah, it's like an Italian Larry David.
Yeah. Less bald, I guess, but
less bald, but just as much anxiety.
He didn't seem very funny at all.
No, he wasn't that funny, but definitely had the anxiety and the anxiety of a nice Jewish man.
Well, one of the main takeaways I got from the documentary was that he's a miserable person, and he had a singular vision, and all he could focus on was that vision.
And it seems that Gandolfini was the same way with his character, and it seemed that he was pretty miserable the entire time that the show was filming. And it looked like there was 2 different sides to Gandolfini. There was the off-the-screen, teddy bear, lovable guy. And on the screen, he was highly stressed all the time because of the, emotional output that his character gave, I guess. I mean, obviously, that's a little bit, method acting. You're going to see that from Jeremy Strong, who was on, what was the show? Jeremy
Succession.
Strong. Yeah, Succession. Jeremy Strong was famous for that on Succession. And Brian Cox, who's a Shakespearean trained actor, was like, "You're an asshole."
Yeah.
so not
you're
everybody.
You're not a method actor, Jeremy. You're an asshole.
Yeah, that's basically what Brian Cox said. But that's essentially what really was Gandolfini was doing on set for the most part, because he had to get into such dark places for so many of these scenes.
Right. Well, so Tony Soprano was an anti-hero, and he was really not the first one ever, but the first one that really encapsulated pop culture like the Sopranos did. I mean, it was an instant hit. So they had to keep one-upping themselves. They had to go to continuously dark and darker places. I mean, they were killing people. There was there was murder, there was cheating, there was debauchery. I mean, every one of the seven sins encapsulated Tony Soprano.
I'll give you a great example of how that show was within society. I used to go to this house. The show came out when I was, I believe, either a sophomore or junior in high school, and there was this house where everyone just did drugs and drank 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the only time a week where no one was doing drugs or drinking was 9 p.m. on Sunday when The Sopranos came on. Everyone had to be quiet. No one left the room.
Shut up and watch. Yeah.
And all the guys doing drugs sobered up for a minute just to see Tony.
Yeah. Well, it really like set HBO up for the next 25 years ish. I mean, they had shows before that. Oz was a big hit, and
Arliss
was a big hit. Larry Sanders Show, etc. But like nothing really catapulted HBO from like the network's little brother to like the premier destination of creative drama on television, and that's really what it became.
I mean, really, with HBO, the only two shows that did that were really Game of Thrones and Sopranos. They had other great shows. Trust me, I Deadwood is an example of one of the best shows ever made.
I want to talk about our top 5 shows later, but yeah. But go on with your point.
But that didn't have any sort of societal impact or anything like that. There's certainly things that you can compare to quality-wise, but in terms of overall impact, there's absolutely nothing that tops The Sopranos then, and then Game of Thrones kind of took that mantle for a solid decade when that came out. But Sopranos was the first appointment viewing that I ever remember.
Well, I mean, for HBO, like for me, like Seinfeld and Friends in the mid '90s were certainly important.
I was the same way.
Yeah.
Thursday nights were a big deal, and honestly, before that, TGIF and Balky.
I was gonna say TGIF. Yeah.
If you screwed with my Balky, I screwed with you.
Well, listen. The only person who could screw with Balky is Cousin Laddie, and Cousin Laddie was not screwing. He was the only one who was allowed to screw with Balky.
I thought the whole time he was saying Gordon Larry instead of Cousin Larry. I always thought it was just Gordon. I'm like, why the hell is he calling him Gordon Larry?
Just cousin and a cousin in a shitty Eastern European accent.
Yeah. And Bronson Pinchot, not foreign, and also does the same voice in Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop. His character in Beverly Hills Cop is a masterpiece. Don't compare that to Perfect Strangers. How dare you?
Perfect Strangers is a masterpiece.
I wouldn't call it a masterpiece.
I mean, for their lives, it was.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, they definitely made a lot of money off of it, and it lasted a few years, so they're covered. Going
back to Sopranos and HBO, you were saying that other shows were as good in quality but didn't have an impact. You could definitely see that in a show like The Wire, who, the quality of it, I think, is on par with The Sopranos. But The Wire was really a show that gained popularity and cultural influence after, like, the seasons ran. It's really like in the middle of between seasons 2 and 3 where the Wire really started to pick up and gained its traction. But it was still, even at its height, was nothing like The Sopranos. The Sopranos, year in and year out, was every Sunday night at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be here to watch HBO.
Absolutely. And well, the thing with The Wire is we're also from Baltimore, so
right.
it meant a little. I mean, I can't say it meant more to us than other people because I'm sure there was other people watching it in inner cities and seeing their lives playing out. But us being from here and knowing the area and stuff, it was just an important thing. And to me, nothing has ever or ever will touch The Wire as the best show ever made, though.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to go over the doc and talk more about The Sopranos. So. The first episode of the doc was so cool. It's a 2-part series again. It's like an hour 15 each episode. And in the first part, I loved seeing all the casting. They showed a lot of the different casting videos and who was up for what role. Seeing like the different Christophers and the different Paulie Walnuts and the different Tonys even. It was really just cool to see that process. And
I loved all the Paulie Walnut stuff.
Yeah, that Paulie Walnut stuff was great. They talked more about him, I think it was the second episode, and how like he wouldn't let any of the hair and makeup people touch him. He was just like self-tanned and would do his own hair every single day, and no one could touch it.
Except for the one scene in the woods where they tried to kill the Russians and get stuck in the woods all night. And he's like, look, your hair wouldn't look perfect in the morning. It just wouldn't.
You got to mess your hair up a little bit. He's like, fine, do it. And they're like, let's shoot. He's got messed up hair. Let's go. That's such a funny story.
It was interesting hearing the writers as well, because I think the writers take a lot of pride in the show.
Yeah.
And yes, it was David Chase's complete design and idea, but I think that they're all in this little mindset where they feel a little bit of a need to be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to when David Chase is such the overpowering figure and such the driving force behind all of the content.
Yeah.
But the writers made it clear that a lot of these storyline ideas were theirs.
Well, they made it. There's a couple of things. They talked about how a lot of the stories came from like stories from their own life, like
stories that they've even heard of. Like they were like, "What's the craziest thing you've ever heard in your town?" Like stuff like that.
Well, so that's something I was going to touch on. It made the writers' room simultaneously feel like the coolest, like most creative, free-flowing of ideas place ever, and like a miserable hellhole that you never left because you were there like 14 hours a day having to like craft the story of it. I mean, that dichotomy of like, okay, guys, let's spend the next 2 hours just brainstorming storylines for Tony for season 4, and then like, we fucking been here for 12 hours, like talking about Tony for this one. We can't get off of this one point of him screwing, the girl with the wooden leg.
And also, they could map out half of a season for a character, and if Chase nixes it, it's gone.
Right.
He can change his mind in a snap. It's interesting. He hasn't. What has he done since The Sopranos?
So he did that movie with Gandolfini called Not Fade Away, and I'm pretty sure he did the Saints of Newark movie as well.
Yeah, so neither were that good.
Right. I didn't see Not Fade Away, or I have seen it. I think I actually have seen it, but I didn't. I don't recall it right now.
Saints of Newark was actually bad. It was a bad movie.
I didn't think it was bad. I saw it in theaters. It was okay.
I didn't. I didn't even. It was boring. I thought it was boring.
Yeah.
I wasn't in any of the characters. I thought the acting was average. It just wasn't. What the Sopranos movie could be and what that turned out to be was, I think you would agree, a huge disappointment.
Yeah. No, it didn't live up to the Sopranos. I was a big fan because one of my favorite comedians, Joey Diaz, was in it. So I just got happy about that.
I mean, I feel like David Chase, and I might be the first person to say this, he might have sold his soul to the devil to make The Sopranos.
Why? What do you mean?
He was a shtick writer on crap shows for his entire life.
Right.
He's just this Hollywood writer who's somewhat respected but has never done anything with any meaning. He has one idea that makes arguably to many the greatest show ever.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of fades away, makes a couple of crappy, average movies. And so, like, why was he brilliant only for this small period of his life, so late in his life? You don't see that often. You don't see somebody that late in life just find out something brilliant when they've been failing upwards. It seemed like he was failing upwards for his entire career until The Sopranos happened.
I don't know if he was necessarily failing. He just went from like TV sitcom writer job to TV writer job. And it wasn't even sitcoms necessarily. He was on like drama shows. I think he said he was on Rockford Files. I don't have the list in front of me, but like he was on legitimate shows, like writing for legitimate shows, and had a name. He had a reputation in Hollywood. Like one of the writers was saying how they knew who he was like ahead of time.
But it's almost as if he could have he could have been anybody. He could have been any writer. He could have been any career writer up until The Sopranos. And then he came up with a Quentin Tarantino level idea,
right.
and produced it, directed it, and made it in a way that nothing else has been made since before or after.
But that was the whole. I think it was a perfect storm. Like he certainly had the idea, and it wasn't a completely original idea. He said he took it from something or took the notion of it from something, and I'm blanking out on where he took it from. But it was also at a point in time where HBO was just starting to really get into the like, hey, you're a showrunner with a really good idea, like go do whatever you want to do, and we're going to leave you alone. That was really their model for the next 15 years.
He took a lot of it from his upbringing. I mean,
right. Well, the mother relationship was from him, but I'm talking about the idea of like the mother putting a hit on him.
And well, yes, but also like he used to hang out at the bar when he was a young kid, and all the local gangsters were there, and he just understood how they talked, understood how they walked, how they interacted. How many other teenagers get to experience that are actually writers? Like, it's a unique experience that allowed him to develop this whole thing that no one else gets to have. You're not going to be a writer and sitting in a bar in 1960s Jersey with mafia figures. You're just and it just doesn't happen.
I really thought it was cool that I learned that Christopher became a writer. I didn't realize that
Michael
Imperioli
was cool too.
was a writer. Like that's awesome. That like at one point he was like, "Yeah, I just really like fell in love with the show and the characters, and I wanted to help craft the next few seasons." I thought that was awesome.
He made a comment about people saying that he was a writer just so he could help out his character. I guarantee a lot of cast members were pissed about that.
I would assume so, right?
Oh, look at the writer giving himself good lines.
Although I will say that finding out that when Gandolfini got his deal for $1 million an episode and then gave most of the cast the $30,000 check, pretty fucking cool.
That was very cool, and I think because of his aloofness on the set, he tried to definitely overcompensate off the set. And but I mean, at the end of the day, no one really said anything bad about him. It's just I don't think that there was like a lot of camaraderie with him because he was kind of out on his own, it seemed.
Well, I think they like there was part of the first part of the documentary like took a lot of time to talk about how like he made everyone on set comfortable and he was a big goofball. But I think like as the series went on and like the more he had to dive into like the dark side of Tony Soprano, the less of that stuff went on and the more he had to like quote unquote be in character and method and go to like dark places to achieve what he needed to achieve to be Tony Soprano. Yeah,
and also the fame that came with it put a lot of extra pressure for him to make this great. You know, he was just a stage guy before this, really, and for him to become the most Tony Soprano is the most famous character arguably in TV history.
At this current time, yeah, I would agree with you.
And for him to be that and to have to encompass that and then see people in public and they expect some level of that, it's very awkward. Well, also, it's going to mess with you.
He was in like a character actor in a lot of movies. He was in like 8mm and he was in he was like a gangster in a bunch of movies.
He was in True Romance.
True Romance, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the level of fame and expectation on him from going to like a supporting role, like, you know, you're in like 3 scenes in a movie. He
was a bit character actor. I mean, he was not even like a co-lead. He had never done anything like this.
And then going to like the lead character in the biggest show in like, you know, on television at that time, certainly. I mean, that's the pressure that they had to keep going and making it better. And like, you know, it's clear that Tony became, or James Gandolfini became more like Tony, and that David Chase wrote Tony more like him. Like all 3 of those people like were melding, and that certainly was a theme of the documentary as well.
One thing that I kept thinking about as I was watching it and seeing all the characters who really no one did anything after the show of any note except for Edie Falco.
Yeah, except for Edie Falco. She did Nurse Jackie, which was pretty good.
Which is a really good show and really well done. But other than that, there's bit parts, there's supporting roles here and there.
Daddy Daycare, Michael Imperioli, ever heard of it?
Imperioli is a working Hollywood figure. I mean, he produces movies. He was on the new HBO show last year.
He has his own theater in New York.
Yeah. But he's not. None of these people. You would think with such a cultural phenomenon. Yeah. When it ended, like with Friends, you got Jennifer Aniston becoming the biggest star in the world afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Although most of her movies sucked.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't work out great. I mean, it worked out well financially.
I know what you're saying. Courtney Cox had Cougar Town. Dave Schwimmer had like a lot of opportunity to be a Hollywood star, and so did
Julia Louis-Dreyfus had a pretty big career after Seinfeld. I mean,
yeah,
it just the big shows. Ted Danson. I mean, it goes on
Kramer.
and on. Yes, this makes my point. So with that, having only one real featured role out of the entire cast is crazy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Italian. I guess there's only so many roles for 300-pound Italian men, but and I guess even when you're doing a movie, it's hard to have Bobby Bacala in there because they're going to be like, that's Bobby Bacala, right? And that's not Tony from whatever movie he's in. So I'm sure that's probably their biggest problem. Their fame that they got from the show just kind of made them their characters.
I did see the movie with Julie Louis-Dreyfus and James Gandolfini. I don't think that was Not Fade Away. I think it was a different movie.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was fine. I watched the whole thing. I mean, it wasn't great. It was interesting.
They were both enjoyable.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't really act poorly. So
Right, they're both great actors. They're both great.
Yeah, you're starting at a really high point with both of them.
What I really liked about the documentary was that the ending makes a lot more sense to me now, and I appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah. He wanted to leave it open. I mean, that's really all it came down to.
Well, I think with pretty good confidence, I can say that Tony's dead. He talked about the whole episode, the last episode, that they were shooting everything from Tony's point of view. That you would see Tony's point of view, and then he would walk into the frame of his point of view, and then at the end, it just fades to black because you're seeing Tony's point of view.
I know, but I think it was also he also implied that it was a money thing, and that in a way that to leave it open leaves opportunities and ideas.
Well, and the DP, the director of photography, the lead cameraman, said pretty much, he's like, well, do you want to have like a nice, neat ending where it all wraps up and everybody is happy, or do you want to like have people be talking about this 20 years later? So which was a great call by him. I mean, if he actually said that at the time, that's ingenious.
Not every show can have a 6 feet under ending. It
Right.
just can't happen. There's only very few shows wrap it up. But the shows that are culture changers, like Lost, like Sopranos, like Seinfeld, they're the ones whose endings are the most controversial.
Yeah.
I know MASH's last episode was controversial for MASH fans when that was the biggest show.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. People don't want it to end, and without something that's going to blow their mind, it's a letdown when you spend years and years and years watching something
invested in these characters in this world.
Because then you sit back and think, I wasted, for The Sopranos, 130 hours of my life,
right,
for a black screen. Like that's what's popping into people's heads. They want a conclusion, but from an artistic standpoint, it was the right move.
Have you rewatched The Sopranos?
No, I don't rewatch shows. Except
ever?
The only thing I rewatch is like whole series with my kids.
Oh,
So like I will when they're older and it's Sopranos time.
Yeah.
But 9 and 11 is not Sopranos time.
No. I've rewatched The Sopranos, and it sort of makes me want to rewatch it.
We just finished Young Sheldon, which I would recommend to anybody, any age.
Hell of a show, great show. Sopranos and Young Sheldon, they're on the same level of quality shows.
No, they're not. But I can still like to laugh too.
You can like anything you want, Matthew.
Sorry, I like to laugh.
It's okay. I accept your apology. Don't do it. Don't do it again, though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Sopranos doc was freaking incredible. Go watch it if you like The Sopranos. Even if you didn't, I mean, it's this podcast is a spoiler alert, but amazing show, amazing documentary. I recommend it to anyone. It really actually teaches you, doesn't teach you, but lets you in on the inner workings of a show too, and the different parts of it and how you get there. I loved it. I do want to move quickly, Matt.
Would you say The Sopranos doc makes you a better person?
No.
Okay, me either. So I was just wondering.
Yeah. But I did like being in that world again, like you said, and learning about the process. It was really cool. Mm-hmm. I do want to move quickly to a related topic: our top 5 shows of all time.
We're going to be pretty similar with some of them. I'm sure of it.
I think so.
I already told you my number 1, which is The Wire. Mm-hmm. You can give me your number 1, and then we'll kind of just discuss that maybe first.
Well, I don't know if I have a number 1 per se.
For this exercise, you need to have a number 1. goddammit.
Well, then it's also The Wire, which is just the least controversial, funniest thing ever.
Okay.
I love it so much. I've rewatched it twice. I've watched it 3 times. I love it.
I have rewatched. The Wire is one of the few shows I have rewatched because I watch it with myself fully and then with my wife fully.
Yeah.
And if my kids ever are old enough to watch it.
When they're 25.
when they're in their mid-20s and I'm okay with them seeing what 10 miles away looks like.
Right.
Yeah, right now they'd probably not go to sleep knowing how close all that stuff is happening.
So The Wire's number 1. Why don't you give me your top 5, and then I'll give you my top 5.
Okay. I'm not going to give you a particular order then.
That's fine.
Wire is 1. So I've got Wire,
mm-hmm.
Deadwood,
mm-hmm.
Mad Men,
okay,
Breaking Bad,
uh-huh,
and Wait. Wire, Mad Men, Breaking Bad, and let's finish it off with. Do I really have a fifth?
Young Sheldon.
No, it's definitely not Young Sheldon.
I can give you.
I'm going to think on my fifth. You tell me your five.
Okay, I have my five ready. The Wire, as I said, is probably my favorite. So Wire, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Deadwood, which you stole from me. I like Deadwood more than you did before you liked it.
But it's so good.
Wire, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Deadwood. My fifth show, top five, The West Wing.
Okay. My fifth show is The Shield.
Oh, the great one. Great show.
Yeah.
I thought about that.
And the reason let me start off with saying the reason why The Sopranos is in my top five.
Wait, you didn't say Sopranos? Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. Sopranos is not my top five.
What's your top five? Did I just miss that?
Deadwood, Wire, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, The Shield.
Oh, yeah, Sopranos is in your top five? What the hell?
Reason being, I did not enjoy 4 out of the last 5 seasons. Just did not think they were that good. I thought there were great episodes mixed in. There was a lot of boring episodes. There was a lot of filler. I think that they did not have enough story to fill the seasons that they had. I respect it. It's in my top 10, so I'm not saying it's garbage, but The Shield is a action-packed thriller for 8 seasons in a row. Like every single episode has your heart pounding.
I agree with you with some about The Sopranos. The dream season, while creative and artsy, it was not my favorite season of television ever. However,
I respect it. I respect it, but like
I still kept it in my top 5 for certainly. I do have a couple of other honorable mentions that I want to talk to you about. 6 Feet Under, Mad Men.
Well, Mad Men's in my top 5.
And Barry.
Succession. Barry's really good.
I love Barry.
But
Barry's
I
so
don't.
good.
Barry's great, but I don't think Barry was 30-minute episodes. 900 minutes of content. I don't think can compare to the other shows, and just in terms of a body. Mad Men, I did say, is in my top 5.
You did put Mad Men in your top 5. Mad Men got pretty questionable at the end too.
I do have Succession over The Sopranos too.
Really, Succession was awesome. You can't. You can't argue with
Succession. Succession was pretty much a perfect show from beginning to end.
So it did start in 2018. So I guess it doesn't count for your question from a couple of episodes ago about Shogun being the best show of the 2020s. That's really that's the one. But I guess since it started,
actually, Succession is the actual reason I said the 2020s, because really Succession's the last prestige TV
great
thing
show.
we have.
It's so good.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, there's probably going to be something that comes out that blows people's minds, but there hasn't been a lot recently. So Succession really stood out. Even when Mad Men was out, it was out at the same time as Breaking Bad and The Sopranos. And I mean, the competition was insane. Walking Dead was starting then when that was
really good for a
when
while.
that was a smash hit. And like the first 2 seasons of Walking Dead was quality
Incredible.
TV.
Even 3. I mean, it got after the 4th and 5th were weird, but
once they stopped walking, it got real weird.
Right, when you're like, you're not. But that's the name of the show, isn't it? Okay, I did a little fun exercise, Matt, with my top 5 TV shows. I compared them to basketball players because why the hell not? It's my show. You don't like it, get your own show.
Fair.
All right, so Sopranos. I have The Sopranos as Kevin Durant because we'd never seen anything like it before. And at its peak, it is like the best offensive player in the history of the game. Not the best ever, but at its peak, the best.
I don't dislike that comparison.
Okay. Breaking Bad is LeBron because it came on like a phoenix and it never dipped from the heights of where it was. It was always spectacular, a top 1 or 2 show on TV at the time.
Oh my God! I mean, to say the least. I mean, it's my number 2 show ever. If I had to pick, there's nothing that I could say about it other than we were talking about last episodes having meaning, and that last episode was about as action-packed, as fun, and as great as you're going to find.
All right. The last season of Breaking Bad was just, oh my God, it was so intense. Okay.
Yeah.
Deadwood is Tracy McGrady.
No.
Because it didn't have a sustained run of being at the top, but when it only had 2 seasons, Deadwood. So when it was there, it was unquestionably incredible and has the one of the best in the league, without discussion.
Okay, I think Deadwood is more Robert Horry. I think it just wins championships for being amazing.
It peaks. Its peak is too good to be Robert Horry.
No, it's about the quality once you get to know it. Once you get to know Robert Horry, once you watch Robert Horry on the court, seeing that he gives space, makes the right pass, does everything correctly, but not making a big deal about himself. Yeah. Not out there saying me. Like Deadwood. Deadwood had no publicity at all. HBO basically buried it. They buried it they didn't even make it a 9:00 show. It started. It was a 10:00 show, I think, after right after John from Cincinnati.
Great show. That's what they. Soik.
That was the first blemish on HBO's resume. I remember at the time, like they were batting 1,000 up until John from Cincinnati.
And then John from Cincinnati. Okay.
They're batting. HBO still has the highest batting average, if anything.
By the way, I still like my Tracy McGrady. Like not a long peak, but at its peak, it was one of the best.
I respect it.
Okay, The West Wing is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because a very long career and always very good. At its peak, best player in the league. Even at the very end, was still a solid player. 17 and 8.
I'd call it more Dolph Schayes.
No, now you're just being being ridiculous, Matt.
No, Dolph Schayes, very white, like The West Wing.
Okay, and The Wire is obviously Michael Jordan.
I mean,
sustained run, undeniably the best.
If you didn't say it was, even with The Wire and when they even brought in the kids and people had the problem in the newspaper season, which was the high watermark, but the doc season, which people said is the worst season.
The doc season is awesome. The doc season is awesome.
I love the doc season. I loved every second of the doc season.
Re-elect Frank Sabatka, baby, all day.
It was great. Now they always did go places in the storyline that they never kind of reverted back to, like the gay police commissioner that they had him in the gay bar. They never talked about it again.
Well, I'll tell you what. MJ went to the casino the night before the NBA Eastern Conference Finals in Atlantic City, and that was never spoken of again. So there's a lot of parallels.
Yeah, a lot of addiction in both forms.
That's correct. What do you think Mad Men is? Who would you compare Mad Men to?
I would compare Mad Men to JJ Redick.
Why?
Because he just looks like he could be a character on Mad Men.
All right, that's fair. All right, that was my.
I mean, he literally looks like Don Draper. I mean, is there any other reason I need?
Well, he's not as handsome as John Hamm.
I mean, JJ Redick would have an argument because he thinks very highly of himself.
A lot of TV talk. Sopranos doc, top 5 TVs of shows of all time. Let's get back to the NFL content because that's why a lot of our audience tunes in, Matt. Let's be honest.
I mean, I'm sure a certain percentage.
I want to play a quick game of panic time in the NFL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down 0-2 or 1-1 teams in the AFC and NFC. Not all of them, but only the ones that we thought had a chance to either make the playoffs or contend for a title this year. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about if it's panic time. The three answers are, it's over, I'm holding on for dear life, and they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like it. I'm in.
So we'll go AFC, NFC, AFC, NFC. We're going to start with the Ravens. What is your opinion? Is it over? Are you holding on for dear life? Or, they're fine with the Ravens?
Holding on for dear life. It's definitely not over. They're definitely not fine either.
No, I agree.
There's a lot that needs to change. There's a lot that needs to be cleaned up. But talent is there. The stability's there. The coaching staff's there. Your quarterback's there. the division's not looking incredibly strong, although the Steelers' record and then upcoming schedule is really disturbing to me because there's a world in which the Steelers could be 8-1 very easily without really doing much. But to me, they just need an identity, and I think I said this last week. On defense, they need to figure out a way to stop being attacked over the middle, and on offense, they need to figure a way to push the ball down the field to guys that can make plays. It's that simple. You're not going to open up the box for yourself and Derrick Henry if you're going to keep doing the horizontal passes. Get the people out of the box, get the safeties deeper, and things would be a lot better for the team. And I think with the talent, the coaching staff, I think they're likely to get back on track.
Can you back up slightly? Just keep your head a little more in the frame. Yeah, thank you. I agree. They're holding on for dear life. This week is crucial against the Cowboys. If they go 0-3, it might just be over. Just with the schedule coming up, if they have a 3-game deficit on the Steelers, that's going to be tough.
I do think the division winner in our division, I think you can win the division going 10-7. Like I genuinely do.
You think that if the Steelers are 8-1, they're only going to win the 2 of their last 8 games?
That's how bad they are, though. They could go 8-1.
They don't have a quarterback. I agree. They're not a real contender.
There's nothing. My point is, yes, all these things can happen. There's no one in our division that I'm like, damn, we're 0-2. We're not going to be able to catch them. Like no one's good enough to be that worried about right now. But
0-3 is a different story. That's all I'm saying.
0-3 definitely. I don't think you. Yeah, I mean, I still think you kind of hold pat and just hope things get better, but. 0-3 definitely puts you in a hole, but there's too many winners. There's too many good players.
Let's go to the NFC. The Eagles. Is it over? Are you holding on for dear life? Or, they're fine?
I think the end's near for Nick Sirianni as head coach. I think he's lost the team. He's lost Jalen Hurts since last year. The team just doesn't look like it has any fight or fire. The defense is a disaster.
Yeah,
they have such a good defensive line, but their linebacking core is so slow. Their safeties are hurt constantly, and I got to be honest, Darius Slay is not Darius Slay anymore.
No, he got beat by Drake London like crazy on that last.
Play. It just seems that him and Bradbury, corners over 30. I don't know what you're going to expect out of them on a daily basis, but they have the most skilled offense in the NFL, period. Top to bottom. If you go position by position, no one touches them. They're going to win games. They're going to make the playoffs. Now, after that, that's all going to be up to the relationship with Sirianni and Hurts and how well that offense is going and ultimately Saquon's health. But to me, I would not be worried about them at all. I think that they'll be fine, but Sirianni might not be long for a job.
I'm holding on for dear life with the Eagles. Their next 4 are against the Saints, Bucks, Browns, and Giants. They got to win 3 of those games, and they're not easy games. Besides the Giants, they're not easy games.
They're not, but let's see if the Saints are for real. I mean, this is going to be a real. That's a good real test for the Saints.
Yeah,
because I'm not sold.
Let's go back to the AFC. We're going to go to the Bengals. It's over. Holding on for dear life, or they're fine.
It's over.
Ooh, why? Why is it over?
Burrow's not healthy. His balls have no zip. Jamar Chase looks like he hasn't practiced all summer, which he didn't.
Yep.
He's having hissy fits on the sideline. You lose Joe Mixon, you don't replace him with any solid NFL running back.
Zach the offensive line is very mediocre. He's on my team, I know.
The offensive line's banged up. The first round rookie, I don't even know if he's played yet. Mims, and the defense. Ever since they lost DJ Reader, they've been a whole different defense. They're not the same defense that they were before that. He was kind of the glue. I mean, Hendrickson's still fine off the edge, but you have a lot of small slot-like cornerbacks, and you lose Jesse Bates at safety. You can't just keep losing people and not signing people like the Bengals. Bengals don't sign big money free agents.
Ever.
So when you're losing these big money free agents and not bringing in anything of any substance, it's a recipe for exactly what's going on. And look, having Burrow and Chase there long term, they're probably going to have years where they're fine.
Yeah.
But this iteration of the organization is not not where it should be, and I think they know it.
I think they're at Washington at the Commies this week, and if they can't beat Washington at home, that's not good. That's no bueno.
No,
it's a must win. It's a must win.
Well, right, because I mean, you're talking about Washington with the team with the arguably the worst talent in the NFL. Them and the Panthers are neck and neck.
Yeah, no, I think it's the Panthers. I think Panthers are head and shoulders.
I mean, the Redskins. I mean, the Commanders' defense doesn't have an NFL player on it, except their defensive tackles. They've got 3 good defensive tackles and literally a bunch of crap.
Let's move on to the NFC. Cowboys. Is it over? Are you holding on for dear life? Or, oh, they're fine. And if they're fine, I want you to say, oh, they're fine. I need some tang.
Oh, they're fine.
Oh, the Cowboys are fine.
Yes, they're fine. They're always going to be an up and down team. They're never going to be a perfect team. They're not going to win a Super Bowl, but they're definitely going to win 10 games. There's too much talent. It's going to be a 5-man team for the next 10 years. You can like it or hate it. They're never going to have a good roster because they're just going to be paying. Once they're paying Diggs, Parsons, Dak, and Lamb all together, it's over. They'll never have enough depth and enough spread out talent to be a good team. Jerry will die without another championship. That means it's over.
My opinion is it's over. I think they're going to lose this week, and then they're playing the Giants, Steelers, Lions, and 49ers. How are they winning more than 2 of those games?
I don't disagree with you. They could lose. They might not be great.
I think this offseason really hurt them, not paying CeeDee Lamb, him holding in, and not paying Dak. They did not bring in. Zeke is their lead running back. Zeke's been washed for 3 years. I don't understand that.
They looked really good week 1.
Yeah, and then they got crushed.
Right. So, okay, one game they look good, the other game they look bad. I can't write off a team that's been consistently good for a decade who had one good game and one bad game. Well, sure.
I can.
By all means.
Go back to the AFC, the Dolphins.
Oh, I was over them before the season started.
Oh, okay. Right. I'm it's over too. I said 2 is out and Skylar Thompson can't steer the ship, and they weren't that good anyway.
Their defense was. They lost their best defense. They lost the heart of their defense in the offseason, Christian Wilkins, who basically was their entire interior rush defense and entire interior pressure. He's gone. They didn't replace him with anything.
No.
They have all this money invested into Tua and Tyreek Hill,
and
and Armstead the tackle who can't stay on the field, and it's a good. The offense was fun, but without Tua, even with Tua, I don't think that team was going anywhere. Even with Tua, without him, it's going to be a mess. It really is.
Let's go back to the NFC. The 49ers.
Why would I be worried about them?
Oh, McCaffrey's out, Debo's out. They're 1-1. I mean,
yeah. In Kyle, I trust. When people are smarter than when I know for a fact people are smarter than me, I just go ahead and say they'll figure it out.
So what do we say when you think they're okay?
They're okay.
Oh, they're fine.
Oh yeah, right. They're fine.
All right, thank you. I agree with you. They're fine. Their next couple of games are Rams, Pats, Cardinals, and Seahawks. They should be able to get a lot of those games. And Kyle, I agree with you. Shanahan is just smarter than everybody else.
Yeah, and look what Jordan Mason did filling in. And
right.
And McCaffrey will be back. And Purdy is showing that he is more than functional. Debo will be back. Ayuk signed. Trent Williams is signed. Like, everything's ready to go. Kittle's out there playing football. And as long as Kittle's out there playing football, it's a plus because he's barely has ever done that.
This is my last AFC team. And it's a borderline they were going to contend. The Jaguars.
Jaguars. They're done.
It's over, Johnny. I agree.
It's over. So there's just – I think the league's passed Doug Peterson by.
I think so. They gave away the two games in the first 2 weeks. Gave them away.
His offense clearly is just too basic. It's year 3 of this, and nothing's gotten any better. It's stagnated, if not gotten worse. The skill positions are young and exciting. Etienne, I think, can be a first-team running back on a playoff team without a doubt. They have talent up and down the roster. There's no reason that this team really should be
on both sides of the ball.
It should be over.
Both sides of the ball.
I just think you mix playing in a stadium that isn't even fit enough to play college football. You mix that with the fact that you have a coach who is still running 1990 style West Coast offenses with somebody like Trevor Lawrence, who should be with someone innovative. I think that there's the London thing hanging over the franchise. It's just not a great situation. I think they need the right coach in there. Obviously, look, I'll say this: Urban Meyer was the worst NFL head coach in the history of the NFL for the 3 months that he was there. From everything that I read, Peterson came in. He's a professional coach and did a good job settling everything down and teaching basic fundamentals to the team. They are a functional. He turned them into a functional football team right away. They need to be a top-notch. They should be winning that. They have Trevor Lawrence. They hit the jackpot. They should be winning that division every year. He should be in the Josh Allen conversations, but he's not. They need they need to find somebody to allow him to reach his full potential. No question about it.
Ultimately, it was a bad hire. Anything looks great coming from Urban Meyer. I agree with you.
Well, I think it was a good hire for then. I just think it's
how is it a good hire if 2.5 years down the road it's a bad hire? I mean, it's not a good hire.
Because what good coach was going to follow that situation with that roster that Urban Meyer completely decimated?
Yeah, but you had no expectations. I think they could have got someone good there.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Living in Jacksonville and playing in that stadium is a big win for the next big coach. I don't think Ben Johnson or Clint Kubiak are going to be dying to live in Jacksonville.
That's fair. Last team on the NFC, the Green Bay Packers.
I've gone back and forth on this, but then I watched them win with Malik Willis, so I think they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
I say it's over, and I'll tell you why. They're rushing back Jordan Love off of this MCL injury. Like, why would they do that? He's questionable to play right now.
I don't know.
It's a 4 to 6 week injury with your franchise quarterback. Don't rush the guy back. Let him sit this year. Even if you just won with Malik Willis, you found gold. Like, let him try and win again. I mean, you can't even think that you can't do it because you just did it. So I can't comprehend why you would rush your freshly signed franchise quarterback back after an MCL. You're going to put him out for a full year if you don't let him rest 4 weeks. It's been 12 days, Matt. 12.
Yeah, it's dangerous for sure. I don't know the level of the sprain or the tear or whatever's going on. I mean, for them to send him out there, he would have had to be cleared by doctors, and LaFleur's really proving himself to be a top-notch coach. I do like
LaFleur. I don't know how much we can just blanketly trust these team doctors. One of them stabbed Tyrod Taylor in the lung with a needle.
I don't disagree on that. I just think that Green Bay, Wisconsin has a mentality that's probably different than you and your New York City high-rise.
That's a fair point, if I've ever heard one.
You're like, oh, I have a cough. Take the week off. But no, in Green Bay, they're asking Jordan Love, hey, boy, is your arm working?
Get out there, boy.
And by the way, they talk Southern in Wisconsin now.
Yeah.
They're like, if your arm's working, get out there.
I don't care about your knee, boy.
Is your arm working? They're like, hey there, Jordan Love, is your arm hurting over there?
Oh yeah, is your arm working there, Jordan Love?
That's
your knee
sad.
hurts? That's okay. Put some ice on it and get your ass out on that field now.
Oh, I'm going to be out there at Lambeau, and I'm going to cheer for you, okay?
All right, no, come on here. So that was the first time of, is it over? I'm holding on for dear life, or, oh, they're fine.
And it's the first time that we went back and forth with Wisconsin accents.
It was a good game. No, not in our lives, guaranteed not. We've done that before. We've done that bit.
No,
100%.
Yeah.
Before we end the podcast, we got to talk about Ohtani. What is this freaking guy doing? This angel sent from Japan. What is this guy doing here?
What he did yesterday, if baseball was in the zeitgeist the way it used to be,
oh my God, when we were kids? Holy shit.
It would have gone down as the greatest game ever played.
It would have been leading national news, not just SportsCenter. It would have been leading like the CBS and NBC news.
It was still on. I did check all the outlets. They did mention it a few bars down. But to go into the game needing 2 home runs and 2 stolen bases to go 50-50 for the first time in Major League history. Okay, so that's the picture, right? But the bigger picture is this guy's also a top 5 pitcher in all of baseball. And Dave Roberts, his manager, yesterday said he told me before the season he's going to have a special season because he doesn't have to worry about pitching. So he had it in his mind that he was going to do this the entire season. So he goes out and he hits not 1, not 2 to hit 50, but 3 home runs yesterday. The fans in Miami were going apeshit. Yeah. I mean,
the 2,500 fans were going nuts.
No. There was like 20,000 people there to watch him, and
so half full stadium.
It was a half full stadium. so they were going absolutely insane. He steals 2 bases. Oh, and he has 10 RBIs.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy.
For me, remembering big moments. When people were hoping big moments were going to happen. I remember Cal Ripken hitting home runs in both of his game tying and game passing games for Lou Gehrig.
21-30, 21-31.
The pitches might have been grooved into him, but that's okay. Right. We're not going to. And also Ripken did the same thing in the All-Star game when I know that pitch was grooved into him. It was admitted. But that's. It's wild.
Yeah. What a special season for him. I don't know. We don't even have to I know baseball talk isn't our MO, but we don't even have to guess about MVP. How can it not?
Well, he's definitely MVP. He's definitely he answered the question. You can look at careers and stats and everything. There is an indisputable fact that he is the best baseball player ever put on earth.
Yeah.
You cannot compare him to anybody. You are looking at Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky. He's really more Wayne Gretzky than Michael Jordan, to be honest with you, because he's better at his sport than Michael was at basketball. It's just baseball, you can't drive wins yourself the same way. But Gretzky, with just the dominance in the shooting and the passing, kind of is the only close comparison. But to be a pitcher and a hitter, dominate at both, and to steal 50 bases, that means he flies.
So you think he's clearing away better than Barry Bonds?
Could Barry Bonds strike out 230 guys in a year?
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
It's as simple as that.
I guess even if you want to say that Bonds is a better hitter, just for sake of argument,
sure,
he doesn't pitch.
But guess what? Ohtani's close enough that whole pitching side really makes up for it.
Right, exactly.
And they're talking about him being healthy enough and him throwing on the side right now to pitch in relief if they get to the World Series. Think about that atmosphere. If he hits a home run in the 9th and then gets the save.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
All this is on the table. That's why if this guy was American, baseball would be back.
Well, I was going to say, how is he not a bigger deal? But you think it's just the foreign thing?
His English, he doesn't speak English publicly. Which is a problem. So you're not going to get anybody kind of falling in love with him. You're not going to get the Charles Barkley vibe from him, where you can just listen to someone talk forever and say, "I'm going to watch that guy." Or you don't hear him speak. You hear a translator speak. So it's tough. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it definitely limits the amount of exposure you can give him. He can't go to ESPN and do 10 interviews in a day and walk around campus. So he can't
do the car wash.
Right.
Yeah, I hear you. He can't go on Colin Cowherd. He's not going on Simmons. He's not going on Howard Stern or whatever.
He's not going on Monday Night Conversations.
I'd take him. I'd let him speak Japanese. I don't care.
Who would you rather talk to, him or his old interpreter?
His old interpreter, 1,000%. Oh my God, I want to actually know what happened. I sort of do, but
I kind of guess what I guess what happened. He took his money and gambled and lost.
Yeah, and Ohtani was in on it for 100% fact.
You think?
Yes. Oh, where did this $50 million go? I don't know.
I don't think he has any knowledge of his money. That's the understand.
Someone does, dude.
You know he deferred $400 million of his contract?
I know. He deferred like 650 or something.
Yeah, whatever the number is, he's going to be paid until the 2070s.
Yeah.
But 10 million a year until the 2070s.
Poor him. He's just living off his tens of millions of dollars in endorsements.
Yeah, I'm sure he's struggling.
All right, Matt. What a long episode, but it was a fun episode, and it was a formulaic episode in terms of, no, it wasn't. It just formed, it helped form opinions, but it wasn't formulaic. I might cut that out. Damn, I fucked that up. Matt, what a fun episode that was.
It was more fun than telling me how much you fucked that up.
Yeah. I'll keep it in just because, whatever, who cares? We let our audience see all.
Be your true self, man. Fuck
we let
ups
our
and
audience.
all.
We let our audience see everything.
They want the real you. They want the real you. Fuck ups and all.
And you know what? I want to be vulnerable for my audience.
Well, you're always vulnerable.
I know. It's not a great life. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. Subscribe at Monday Night Conversations, Facebook and Instagram. Go to our YouTube page at MNC Pod on YouTube. Just subscribe to it. Just do us a fave. Matt, ask us to do us a fave.
Do us as subscribers.
Do us a solid and subscribe. We need you guys to subscribe.
We need like so many subscribers that we don't have to work ever again. So figure that out, fans.
Thank you, and make sure you take care of yourself
and each other.
Lovely episode, Matt. I'm stopping it.